Welcome to Wargroove. So, a viewer requested on one of the comments on my video GW5 puzzle campaign, it was really awesome. Can you make a tutorial to show how to use all the triggers and stuff? Of course I can. I think Armagon from Chucklefish made some tutorials on the subject, but I'm happy to make my own, give my own spin on it. So let's get started. This is going to be a basic intro guide to triggers and scenario maps in Wargroove. Here we go. Alright, so the first thing you need to do if you want to make a new map, obviously, is go to the Create Map, and when you hit New Map, you're going to want to make it into a scenario. So you click the little wrench up here, you see the little wrench here, Map Properties, and I want to make it into a scenario map. That way I can use triggers. Now, this is still DLC Double Trouble release. I don't know if there's going to be another patch, but I'll keep things simple so this video should scale pretty well into the future. Alright, so what are triggers, what are events? Well, because I changed the mode, again, let me show you how to do that just one more time. Wrench, Map Properties. You see, it's a scenario. You can change the map type from Skirmish to Scenario. It'll open this whole new tab. All this cool stuff. Great. And it'll give you these new features here. In addition, it'll open up this thing called the Event Editor. Now, the Event Editor is how you add all the triggers. That was the point of this tutorial, to go over triggers, to your map. So let's make some really basic triggers. I'm not going to use gizmos. I'm not going to do anything fancy. Just some basic triggers. Okay, what do I want to happen? Let's say I want swords to appear all around Valder. I want Valder to just become completely surrounded with swords. That sounds pretty cool. How do I make that happen? Well, I need something to trigger it, right? I need some kind of event to occur to start the action of Valder being surrounded by swords. So I'm going to hit the wrench here. I'm going to go into the Event Editor, and I'll make a brand new trigger. And I'm going to call this Trigger Valder being surrounded. You don't have to make a really big name like that. I'm okay with it only happening once, but just to make this really easy, I want it to happen at the start of the match. So it'll happen at the start of the match. So I put in a name, I put in when, start of match, okay. Players. Now this is a little bit tricky. For now, I'm just going to keep Red Mercia checked, and I'm not going to explain that because this can get a little bit tricky, and I want this to be just a very simple tutorial. But the idea is that this trigger will only exist for player 1. I'm going to go into conditions. I don't want to add any. It's going to happen at the start of the match automatically. I don't want to add any conditions. Conditions are like, only do it if the sky is blue. Only do it if there's a sword over here, or there's a knight over there. Only do it if you have 500 gold. Those are conditions. You can think of those as only do it ifs. So I'm not going to add any conditions. I just want it to happen at the start of the match, always. Finally, actions. Action is the actual thing that happens. And we want Valder to be surrounded by swords. Now, there are so many actions, and it's going to take you guys a while to read through them all and figure out what they do. Ooh, unit teleport. When was that added? Nice. So you have a lot of really, really awesome actions here that you can use, but it takes a little bit of going through them, reading them, and figure out how they work. So for example, I want swords to appear all around Valder. That sounds like unit spawn. Unit spawn is one of the most common actions you're ever going to use. So let's click OK. Unit spawn. What do I want to spawn? I want a soldier to spawn. So let's find soldier. There's a big old list. You gotta scroll through it. There's no way around that. Soldier, soldier, soldier. Here we go. Soldier. Location. There's no location for around Valder. What does all this meta stuff mean? Well, this is like, do you want it to spawn on the location of the last unit used? On the last movement path? On the last death spot? There are these special locations that are built into the game for you. But none of these are around Valder. None of these are what I want. So I'm going to close out of this. It's not helpful. I'm going to close out of all that. How do I make it around Valder? I need to tell the game somehow what around Valder means. So I'm going to go up to this top list here, and I'm going to click this. It looks kind of like the exclamation box that you see in the Mario games. It looks a little bit like that. I'm going to click on this, click here, and add a location. And I'll call this Around Valder. Alright, and I'm going to click this tile, this tile, this tile, and this tile. I've created a location all around Valder. Now, I did that pretty quick, so let's go through the steps again. I'm going to delete this location. I'm going to start all over, okay? So I'm going to click this little exclamation box here. Go into the bottom right here, click this. Add. Alright, and I'm going to give it a good name. Surround Valder. And now I'm going to click this tile, this tile, this tile, and this tile. And that's how I told the game, alright, this is where I want those locations to be, on these tiles. Now, Valder moves, it won't be around Valder anymore, and we can fix that with more complicated triggers. But for now, when the game starts, that'll be around Valder. Alright, so I'm going to go back into the event editor. I'm going to click on my trigger, Valder being surrounded, and edit it. Start of match, I like that. Just me, I like that. No conditions, no if-onlys. I want it to always happen at the start of the match, 100% of the time. Actions. Alright, let's edit our action, spawning the soldier, right? We now have a new location in the list, Surround Valder. I'm going to click that. Player. Well, this is who the soldier belongs to. I want it to belong to player 1. And this little check marks basically determines whether it makes the poofy animation or not. You know when things appear in the campaign and it's like poof, and they appear and it's very dramatic? If you check this, then it won't poof. If you leave it unchecked, it'll poof very dramatically. I like the poof, so I'll leave that box unchecked. Alright, I'm going to close out of that. Now the problem is, this will only spawn 1 soldier. I want 4 soldiers, so I should duplicate this event. Just going to duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. Now I have 4 of them, so it should spawn 4 soldiers. Alright, now I'm going to again go into the wrenchy thing and hit play map. And as you can see, at the start of the match, even before I take my turn, 4 soldiers will spawn all around Valder. Pretty cool. Take this, Valder. You're surrounded. Oh yeah, I got you now. You're doomed. Totally gonna win this game. Awesome, right? Alright, let's see what else we can do with triggers. Hold on, I gotta get out of this match. So, mission, exit. Alright, so we talked about locations. Locations are really important. They tell the game where you want something to happen. Locations are in this exclamation point box here, and they're used with your triggers, which are in the event editor. You can create triggers. And triggers apply to players. They have conditions, and they cause actions to happen. Alright, what do you guys in chat want to see? I'll do pretty much anything you want for this tutorial if I can make it work with a reasonable number of triggers. Everybody except Chappington, who we all know could make triggers so complicated the world couldn't possibly keep up. Now, what do you guys want me to do? How about a knight that spawns Koji bombs? Do you guys want to see, like, a knight that spawns Koji bombs when it moves? That sounds pretty cool. Alright, let's do that. I'm going to make a knight that spawns Koji bombs when it moves. But first, let's clean up this sword stuff. I'm just going to delete my location here. Just get rid of it. And I'm going to go back into the event editor and delete trigger Valder being by... yeah, edit that, delete it, done. Okay. We've cleaned up all our stuff because, you know, that's not the plan anymore. I'm going to click this little helmet thing and then go into the bottom here to make a knight. And I want this knight to spawn Koji bombs when it moves. It's going to be awesome. It'll be this devastating warrior of a knight. You know what? I'd like every knight to do this. I'm going to have an army of knights that spawn Koji bombs when they move. How are we going to do that? Alright, so I don't need any locations for this, because the bombs are going to appear where the knight moves, right? If I put like a location on the board and the knight moves, it's going to change. The knight won't be on there anymore. So I need to use those meta locations we talked about to do this. Alright, so I'm going to go into the event editor. and make a brand new trigger. We're going to call it Amazing Knights. These are going to be the coolest knights ever. No, not only once. I want it on repeat. Every time a knight moves, I want this to happen. Players. Okay, so each player will be assigned a copy of the trigger. It's a little bit tricky because that means that if I have 2 players, this is going to happen twice, right? So I'm going to leave everybody checked for now, but I'm just going to have to consider I might end up doubling my events if I'm not careful. All right, conditions. I only want this to happen when the knight moves, right? I'm not sure what condition to use. I think maybe we just always have this happen. We don't need any only ifs, right? We always want this to happen. All right. So I want to spawn. Here we go. Knight. We're going to scroll down the list, look for... Koji Bomb, right? Yes. Sparrow Bomb at the location last movement path. And I want it owned by the current player. I'm hoping maybe that'll get rid of the doubling because think about it. Each player, this is a very tricky concept. Don't worry if you don't completely get it. You can fix it with some fiddling around. But each player that you check is assigned a copy of the trigger. So all of the triggers will happen once for Mercia. All of the triggers will happen once for Valder. So you probably want to condition end of unit turn, otherwise it'll happen multiple times sometime. That's a great point, Chappington. Thank you. Chappington is the master of this. I'm going to go back for a second and add a condition. And the condition is end of unit turn. That way this will only happen when a unit ends its turn. Perfect. That way when the knight ends its turn, that's when the bombs will spawn. Good point, Chappington. That's a useful condition to add. Alright, let's go back to editing this. So, Sparrow Bomb, last movement path for the current player. I like the dramatic, so I want them to kind of just like poop out the bombs, so we'll make it silent. We'll just have them appear. That way it'll be a little bit smoother. Alright, let's see if this works. I'm honestly not sure if I should leave 1 or 2 of these unchecked. But let's see if this works. And I'll go through it again, guys. If you're a little bit lost, I'll go through it again after we test it out. So play map, here we go. I move the knight. Now here's the problem, right? I said each player was assigned a copy of the trigger. We see 1 for Valder and 1 for Mercia. That's not going to work. That's not going to work, right? Why did that happen? Let's talk about why that happened. Because like I said, the current player thing is a little bit tricky. Don't worry if you don't get it right away. It even takes me some experimenting to figure it out sometimes. Let's talk about it. Let's go through it. So we're going into the event editor. I'm going to edit Amazing Knights. Now, since I have both Mercia and Valder checked, they both get a copy of the trigger. So let's walk through what happened. Condition. End of a unit's turn. The knight ended its turn, right? It stopped moving. Action. Spawn Sparrow Bombs at meta location, last movement path. That means create a Sparrow Bomb where? At the path the unit just moved through, right? Create a Sparrow Bomb where the unit just moved through. For the current player. Since I have both of these checked, both of these guys are the current player. It's not whose turn it currently is. No. It's just 1 for Mercia, who has a box checked, and 1 for Valder, who has a box checked. I could turn Valder off, but then Valder's knights won't be amazing. What else could I do here? Let's add another condition. I only want this to happen if it's your turn, right? Because, after all, think about it. Valder's knights won't be moving on Mercia's turn. And I only want Mercia's bombs to spawn in her knight's movement. So let's do this. Let's add another condition. Only if it's your turn. So only if it's current turn player, current player. What this means is that when the game engine is like, okay, let me use Mercia's copy of the trigger. All right, Mercia's copy. Amazing Knights, right? It's on repeat. I can do this as many times as you want. Right? Is it at the end of a unit's turn? The knight just moved. Yes. Is it the current player's turn? Is it Mercia's turn? Yes, it is. All right, let's spawn a Sparrow Bomb in the Knight's path. Great. But wait, I'm not done. I'm not done. Valder's also checked, the game engine says. Okay. Let's check Valder now. Does Valder meet all the conditions? Amazing Knight on repeat? Yep, we're good. Is it the end of a unit's turn? Yes, it is. The Knight just ended its turn. Is it the current player's turn? Well, this is Valder's copy, so the current player is Valder. No, it's not Valder's turn. It's Mercia's turn. We did not pass the condition. Nope, absolutely not. No way, no bombs get spawned. We're not doing any of those actions. We did not pass the condition. It's a little bit complicated, guys. I'm going to go through that one more time a little bit later. But we're only going to spawn one bomb for Mercia now. Let's see if all that works. If the new condition makes that work. All right, we're going to move our knight. There it is. Awesome. But I want the entire knight's path to be full of bombs. So let's duplicate that a little bit. I'm going to edit Amazing Knights. We're going to go into actions and we're going to duplicate this event a bunch of times. Knight has 6 movement. So what do I want? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does starting location count? 6? We'll see. Alright, so bunch of bombs. Here we go. Move like over here. Awesome! Look at all those bombs. That's so cool. And what happens if I cross the streams? Boom! Awesome! Oh, there's so many bombs. Look at this! These knights really are amazing. Is this awesome or what, guys? Is this awesome or what? I think this is pretty awesome. Just look at this. Look at this. These knights just create bombs as they move. That's so cool. That's so cool. Oh, Valder, you don't stand a chance now. These knights are way too awesome. So you could make a map, guys. You could make a map called Amazing Knights. You could make like a scenario map where all of the knights can do this incredible thing, and they just poop bombs, and you could like the knights are suddenly so amazing. And that's the power of triggers right there. All right. Let's see. Now, Chappington added a very good question. Is this just when the knight moves? Let's see. Oh no, it's happening for Mercia too. I never specified knight. Nowhere in any of my triggers or conditions did I say it had to be a knight. Let's fix that, guys. Let's fix that. Alright, so we're going to go back to this wrench thing. We're going to go back to the event editor. We need to make sure Amazing Knights only happens for knights. So, Amazing Knights on repeat. Great. Everybody gets a copy. Great. Only at the end of a unit's turn. Is the current player's turn. Yep. We need to add another condition that it's got to be a knight. Whoops. Don't want to do that. A new condition. Alright, how do we make sure it's a knight? What can we do to make sure that it's a knight? I don't know, guys. I don't know. Let's think about this. We've got a lot of conditions, a lot of options, maybe a couple ways to do this. Unit presence. That sounds like a good idea. Unit presence means if a unit exists. Maybe we can make it so that if a knight exists, and that's what happened. Alright. Or what about end of a unit turn? Will that let us specify the unit? I don't think so. We already did that one. Nope. Alright. So I think we're going to have to go with unit presence here. Okay. Does the current player, so whoever's copy it is, right, have exactly one... Now, you know, it doesn't have to be exact. I don't care. More than 0. Do you have at least some kind of knight? It's got to be a knight. It's got to be a knight. It's got to be a knight. We're going to find knight. Cavalry. They're called cavalry here. Where? Last unit used. Yeah. The knight has to be the last unit that was used, and it just ended its turn. Thanks, Chappington, for the chat advice there. Alright, so I think, yeah, actually we can make it exactly 1, because you're not going to end, like, 2 knights' turns, right? So do you have exactly 1 knight that was just used? Alright, let's try this. Let's try this. Well, let's see if this works, guys. There's a lot of testing involved. Alright, so I'm going to move my knight. Does it still make those awesome Koji bombs? Oh, yeah, it does. But does Mercia? No, she doesn't. Alright, we did it. We added a condition so that it would only apply to knights. And I know, guys, that was a little bit confusing, so let's go through it again. Let's talk about it some more. It takes a couple of shots to understand some of this stuff, I know. So, Amazing Knights, right? It's called Amazing Knights, and it's on repeat, so it'll happen as many times as you want. Oh, Xmo5, he says it's for beginners, but I'm learning a lot. That is a huge compliment coming from one of the premier map makers. Thank you, Xmo5. Alright, so it's called Amazing Knights. It's on repeat. Oh, Zeronix too! Whoa, we've got some big names in chat today that are appreciating the tutorial. I hope this works for you guys at all levels, because we've got beginners and pros who are saying that they're learning stuff. So that's awesome. Thank you, guys. All right. Let's take it from the beginning. The trigger is called Amazing Knights. It's on repeat. Now this part is a little bit tricky, a little bit confusing. But each player you check will have a copy of the trigger. That means the game engine will check everything for that player and the other player, right? I've got both of them checked. So the game engine will check everything for Red Team Mercia and everything for Blue Team Valder. Then we have conditions. These are the only ifs. Only let this happen if. Only let Amazing Knights happen if it's the end of a unit's turn, the current player's turn. Who's the current player? The game engine will go through these one at a time, and each time one of these will be the current player. So the game engine will say, Mercia is the current player, let me check all these conditions. And while Mercia is the current player, replace the word current player with Mercia in your mind. So, is it the end of a unit's turn? Yes. Is it Mercia's turn? Yes. Does Mercia have exactly one copy of a knight at last unit used? Yes, Mercia just moved a knight. That's perfect. The knight was the last unit used, and it just ended its turn. Great. All the conditions are met. Spawn 6 Sparrow Bombs at last movement path, so the knight's movement path. Great. But the game engine is not done. It'll go back. It'll say, wait, you gave Blue Team a copy too. Let me check. Let me check everything for Blue Team, because you gave them a copy. Is it the end of a unit's turn? Yes, it is. The knight just ended its turn. Is it Valder's turn? No. Okay, nothing happens. Nothing happens. It's not Valder's turn. We failed this condition. The other conditions don't matter. We failed a condition. Nothing happens for Blue Team Valder. Anybody else? Nope. We checked Mercia. It does happen for Mercia. We checked Valder. It doesn't happen for Valder. We're done here. Activate the actions only for Red Team Mercia. Super important. Alright, and now if Valder had a knight and it was Valder's turn, like, let's give Valder some knights. Right, guys? We're going to give Valder some knights. We're going to go into the event editor, and let's talk about it again, and let's pretend it's Valder's turn and see what happens. Amazing Knights on repeat? Yep. Can happen as many times as we want. Mercia and Valder have a copy. Conditions. End of a unit's turn? Yep, Valder just moved a knight. It's the end of a unit's turn. Is it the current player's turn? Yup, it's Valder's turn, so that's all good. Does Valder have exactly one copy of a knight at last unit used? Yes, Valder does. Spawn all the bombs. But wait, we're not done. What about Mercia? Is it the end of a unit's turn? Yes. Is it Mercia's turn? No. Stop. So this also works because on Valder's turn, it won't do anything for Mercia. So it'll only treat Valder's stuff on Valder's turn, and it'll only deal with Mercia's stuff on Mercia's turn because we added these current player conditions. And remember, current player doesn't mean it's your turn. It just means the player that we're talking about. But I added the condition current player's turn to force current player to mean the person whose turn it is. This is the most useful condition in the game, guys. Is it current player's turn? Because it takes this concept of current player and makes it really intuitive. The current player is just the person whose turn it is. If you add this super useful condition, is it current player's turn? Highly recommend always add this condition to make things easy if you're doing some easy stuff with triggers. Because remember, guys, if we got rid of this, Valder's bombs would be spawning in Mercia's Knights. It wouldn't make any sense. In fact, I'm going to get rid of this just to show you, just to prove to you what that looks like. We saw it before, but I'm going to do it again because this is one of the hardest things to understand in triggers. Actually, I think the 6 bombs might overrule Valder's bombs just because I'm spawning so many. So let me, just to demonstrate, guys, I'm going to turn off a few of the bombs so that you can see this happen. I'm going to edit Amazing Knights and just turn off, maybe let's turn off like 2 of the bombs. That way you can see Valder bombs appear. Alright. And here we go. Wait, what? Hold on. What did I do? Did I not get rid of it? Amazing Knights, edit, conditions. Oh, because I still have, does current player have exactly 1 of cavalry at last unit used. So this is still restricting it to the current player because Valder didn't just move a cavalry. So this conditional is actually serving the exact same purpose as the previous conditional. So if I delete this one too, then there's absolutely nothing to tie it to the person whose turn it is. Current player just means the person we're talking about. And voila, you'll see Valder bombs spawn. So, like I said, guys, the current player stuff can be a little bit confusing. But with clever conditions, you can make it work and force current player to really mean the person whose turn it is. That's the biggest takeaway I want you to get from this video. Add a condition so that the current player becomes the person whose turn it is, not just the player the game engine is talking about at the time. Alright, I think I've beaten that point to death. It's been lethaled, it's off the map, it lost the game. Let's talk about some other stuff. Chappington posted that one of the best examples of a scenario is you step on a button, something happens. Let's do that. You step on a button, something happens. I'm going to get out of this. I really don't want to save that map, so I'll probably delete it. Go into my scenario maps and just... Where'd I put it? I don't even know where this went. It's buried among my scenario maps. I think this is it. This is what I get for not giving it a name. Always name your maps, guys, so that you can find them later. I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. Alright, let me give it a name so I can delete this properly. Delete me. There we go. Using that programmer skills right there. Okay. We're going to go into... this little book thing is all your scenario maps, by the way. I'm going to get rid of that, just so it doesn't clog up my maps. I've got way too many already. Alright, we're going to make a brand new map. And once again, we're going to make it a scenario map. This time, we're just going to make a very simple button. Alright, so once again, I click the wrench, I go into map properties, I want to change it to a scenario map. Then I'm going to go into the event editor. Now, let's make our button first. Let's make a button. I cover gizmos in another tutorial, guys, so if you want to check out how gizmos work, you can look at that other tutorial. For now, I'll just put this here and not really have it act like a gizmo. I'm just going to have it act like a regular switch or a button. But if you're curious about how gizmos, guys, work, check out my other gizmo tutorial. Alright, so this button, the game is completely unaware of this. It doesn't know it exists. We need to tell the game that that tile is something special. So we're going to click on the exclamation point thing. Remember this? Locations. We have to make a location and put it on the button. So I'm going to click here, add a new location. And we're going to call this Pull the Lever, Mercia. Totally not a reference to something. And I put it right there. Now the game knows that that button is something special. Alright. Alright, we're going to go into the event editor here. And we're going to add a new event. Brand new event, and let's have it happen as many times as we want, and we're going to call it Pull the Lever, Mercia. Players, let's make this a Mercia only button. I don't want Valder to be able to press this button, so only Mercia. Now remember, So far, I didn't restrict it to Mercia. Right, cool. Only check the box for Mercia. So this will only affect... Wait, did I unmute? Yes, I did. This will only affect Mercia. Let's add some conditions. So, because remember, right now, Mercia has a copy of the trigger, but Valder could still hit the button. And we want to prevent that, because the game engine will be like, alright, this is Mercia's copy. I don't see anything about current player, so Valder can hit the button too. So we're going to add that thing we talked about. I only want it to be the turn of the current player when this happens. And it can only be Mercia because only Mercia is checked. So the game engine will only check for Mercia as the current player. So we've limited it to Mercia. And we also only want it to happen if you step on the button, right? So unit presence, current player, which will only be Mercia, has exactly one commander. Actually, let's make it a Mercia. I think it's really specific. Only a Mercia can do it. At pull the lever Mercia. Great. This condition will make it so that it'll only happen if the current player has exactly one Mercia on pull the lever Mercia. But is that enough? Because Mercia could be standing there, right? Mercia could be standing there and just trigger the button. We want it to be that Mercia steps on it and it happens, right? So let's add some more conditions. Because if Mercia is just standing on the button, that shouldn't constantly be flipping the button back and forth. Let's make it, it has to be the end of a unit's turn. Alright, that's pretty good. So it has to be the end of a unit's turn. Can we make this even more specific? Because otherwise this will happen at the end of every unit's turn, right? That's still not going to cut it. How can we make this even more specific? Even more specific. A Mercia has to be standing on there. It's the end of a unit's turn. We probably need some way to make sure that the button doesn't just keep flipping every single time. Chappington is recommending that we use a flag. I think I did this another way in another tutorial, but a flag is a really good way I haven't talked about yet. So let's set a flag to tell the game that you can't just keep flipping the button back and forth. Otherwise, think about it. Is it Mercia's turn? Yeah. Is Mercia on the button? Yeah. Did any unit end its turn? What if a knight over here ends its turn? What if a sword over here ends its turn? The button's going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. We don't want that. So let's add something called a flag. Alright, I'm going to get out of this and show you guys what flags are. So I'm going to hit the wrench here. I'm going to go into the event editor. But instead of triggers, we're going to go into flags and make a brand new flag. Now, a flag is just true or false. That's all it can be. On or off. Button. And we're going to start it off. Okay. So I want to do something with the flag. When you hit the button, I want to turn on the flag, so you can't hit the button again. So we'll edit pull the lever Mercia, and add another condition. Data, map flag. I only want to push the button if button is false, meaning it's not pushed. There we go. So now this will only work if the flag is set to false, which it will be, because remember, we set its default state to false, off. So the flag is off, and remember, flag can be on or off, true or false, set or unset. The flag is off, and we added that condition. I'm sorry guys, there's a lot of info here. Pushing a button is complicated. But it's not that bad once you get the hang of it. Is map flag button false? Yes, it is. Okay, great. But then one of our actions will be to turn it on. See? Set map flag button to true. How did I do that? Let's go through that one more time, just so you can see it again. I clicked on data, set map flag. Okay. True. Now, stepping on the button will set the map flag to true. We also want to do something, so let's, I don't know, give ourselves 100 gold. How's that sound? Player, modify gold. Current player, add 100. So pushing on the button will give us 100 gold. Let's make it 1,000 gold. There we go. Alright, but now we have a problem. You can only ever push the button once, because think about it. What's going to happen? One copy to Mercia, right? Is it Mercia's turn? Yeah. Does Mercia have exactly one Mercia on the button? Yep. Is it the end of a unit's turn? Yeah. But it could still be any unit's turn. But it's got to be Mercia the first time. Otherwise, there won't be a Mercia on the button, right? So, yep. End of a unit's turn, Mercia on the button. Is the flag set to false? Yes, it is. Great. Set it to true so we can never, ever, ever do this again. And add 1,000 gold. That's great, but I want to push the button again next turn, right? So how do I do that? Well, you have to set a trigger so that the button can be pushable again when you leave it. So one way to do that is we're going to set a brand new trigger. This is going to be a brand new trigger. Unpush the button. And it's going to happen on repeat, many times as we want. Only Mercy gets a copy. Actually, you know, we could give a Valder copy too. It doesn't really matter. The condition is nobody is standing on the button. Then it'll unpress. So, unit presence. Any player has exactly 0 of any unit on the button. Any player means it doesn't matter who. Has exactly 0 of any unit on the button. So if nobody's standing on the button, then what's going to happen? Action. Let's make the button false again so that we could press it. There's a lot involved here, guys. So let's see if we set it up correctly. Here we go. Yep, I got 1,000 gold. But it only happened once. I'm not going to keep getting 1,000 gold, right? Even if I do this. I have to leave the button in order to press it again. Right? And that's the only way to do it. Now, there are other ways to do it so that you can, like, end your turn and repress the button. I came up with a solution for that to help with portal maps. You can see that a little bit more complicated version that'll let you, like, same press in my portal maps tutorial, though that requires a special feature to get rid of some kind of chain thing. It can get pretty complicated if you want it to, but this is the simplest possible button, and I'm going to explain it again. I know that was pretty involved, but we're going to go through it again. Okay, so what happened there? How did we make that work? Well, we created a trigger called Pull the Lever Mercia. This trigger happens on repeat, so it can happen as many times as we want. And we only gave Mercia a copy, so it'll only happen for Mercia. Just to be clear, player 1. It'll only happen for player 1, or rather, I have to phrase this carefully because it's a tricky concept. I don't want to confuse you guys. It will only give player 1 a copy of this trigger. Okay? It'll only give player 1 a copy of this trigger. And because we have that super awesome condition, is it current player's turn, that means it'll only happen on player 1's turn. It can only happen for player 1. Player 1 is now the current player. Okay. Does player 1 have exactly one Mercia on the button? Yes. Is it the end of a unit's turn? Yep. Mercia just ended her turn. Is the map flag button false? Yes, it is. Set it to true. Give me 1,000 gold. And now, even if another unit ends its turn, is it Mercia's turn? Yes. Is Mercia on the lever? Yes. Is the end of a unit's turn? Yes. But the flag is set to true, so nothing else will happen. It won't keep happening every time a unit ends their turn, because this flag is really the button. The flag is pushed. The flag is true, right? And we'll only let it happen if the flag is false. Now, because we want to push the button again later in the game, we have a new trigger that when nobody's standing on the button anymore, so it's on repeat, right? Everyone can have a copy, doesn't matter. does any player have exactly 0 unit of any unit at pull the lever Mercia? So is there no units, none whatsoever standing on the button? Nobody is allowed to be there. Let's go through how we created that condition one more time, right? Unit presence, really, really useful. Any player means everybody, any kind of unit owned by anybody. Exactly 0 means nothing. Like, the way to say nothing there is exactly 0. You can also, like, say, yeah, exactly 0. Unit, any unit, I don't care what it is. We could even say any unit or structure, but that probably is overkill. Where? At the location, pull the lever Mercia. That's the location we defined way early on. If you remember, way back in the beginning, we put our little location on the button so the game knows where it is. And that's the simplest possible button, guys. That's the button that Chucklefish more or less uses in their campaign maps, with that style of flag, maybe with another condition or two. That's pretty close to how they do it. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I think I'm going to go into some quick play PvP, and then we're going to lead into the podcast. Though I'm kind of losing my voice a bit, so I'll probably have Sequoia jump on if they're still available to help me narrate some stuff.